One wrong truck engine can torch your wallet, kill your weekend, and sink you into a repair nightmare. These 17 worst truck engines of all time have left owners cursing, broke, and stuck on the shoulder. From sludge monsters to timing grenades, these are the worst of the worst. We're kicking things off with the big V8 bruisers. Massive, thirsty, yet painfully flawed. And don't miss the finale. The last brand is one nobody dares suspect. Number 17 is the Dodge 4.7L V8. When it launched in 1999, it looked like a winner. Fresh design, decent specs, and a shot at escaping the Hemi's shadow. But once drivers hit the road, things got ugly. Oil sludge was the silent killer. Miss an oil change or use cheap oil. Sludge built up like bacon grease in arteries. It clogged passages, starved internals, and slowly choked engines to death. Then came the overheating. If you're towing in summer, the temp gauge shoots up. This engine hated heat, and heavy loads made it sweat bullets. The valve train didn't help either. Lifters and rocker arms frequently wore out without warning. And despite being a V8, it didn't pull like one. Acceleration was lazy, fuel economy was awful, and performance delivered more bark than bite. You'll find this engine in the Ram 1500, Dakota, Durango, and Jeep Grand Cherokee from 1999 to 2013. But ask the owners, they'd rather forget it. Even with perfect maintenance, the flaws leaked through. This engine didn't just wear out, it wore you down. Strap in, a diesel darling is about to leave dreams in ashes. Next up at number 16 is the 5.0-liter Cummins V8. Not all diesels wear the Cummins name with pride. When the 5.0L Cummins debuted in the 2016 Titan XD, truck fans were pumped. Cummins badge, diesel torque, half-ton truck. What could go wrong? Turns out, everything. The worst culprit is the DEF system. The pump is fragile and easily contaminated. When it fails, the truck slams into limp mode. No AC, no power. The fix is over $2,000 with labor. Turbochargers weren't much better. They had metal shavings and poor lubrication. Some owners didn't even make it to 30,000 miles. Then came the EGR failures. Cracks, clogs, reduced performance, massive repair downtime, and just when you think it's over, the fuel system strikes. Defective pumps caused sudden stalls and roadside breakdowns. Drivers were furious, and in 2019, Nissan waved the white flag and killed the engine. The 5.0L Cummins was supposed to boost the Titan XD. Instead, it buried it. Short run with long regrets. Ready to cringe again? A big yellow badge is about to crumble. Number 15 is the Cat C7. The Caterpillar had a name built on power, but the C7 built from 2003 to 2009 dragged that name through the mud. Let's start with the EGR system. It clogged, it cracked, it cooked cylinder heads. Overheating was constant, and gaskets were toast. Fuel delivery was a disaster. The injectors failed as if it were their job. When injector cups leaked, diesel flooded the coolant. If you didn't catch it in time, it melted your hoses and left you stranded. Excessive blow-by was another headache. Smoke puffed from crankcase breathers like chimney stacks. Worn piston rings scarred cylinders early. And still, some engines limped on like zombies on borrowed time. Cat's warranty support was non-existent. Drivers begged for help, but Cat looked away. Many say the C7 didn't just fail, it ended Cat's on-road diesel game. It's no wonder truckers coined a new name. Cat cheated another trucker. When you see a C7 under the hood, trouble's already on the way. Better grab your toolbox and maybe a tow strap. That's not crazy yet. A shortcut built on blue blood turned into a mechanical nightmare. Taking the 14th place is the Chrysler 3.0L EcoDiesel V6. It was built for the Ram 1500, Jeep Wrangler, and Gladiator in 2020. On paper, it appeared to be a smart, fuel-efficient diesel, but in the real world, it turned into a headache. One of the first signs of trouble? Low oil pressure warnings and sudden engine stalls. But that wasn't the worst of it. The Bosch CP 4.2 fuel pump caused chaos. It didn't get along with US diesel fuel. Parts wore down fast, and when that happened, metal shavings went straight into the fuel system. Injectors clogged, engines failed, and repair bills? Some drivers paid over 10 grand to fix it. By 2023, the complaints piled up. Stellantis had no choice but to issue a recall. Unfortunately, to many owners, the damage was already done. Even with updated internals, the engine couldn't shake its bad reputation. So Chrysler pulled the plug just a few years later. It came in with big promises, but left behind broken trucks, empty wallets, and disappointed drivers. Cummins returns, but first, hit that subscribe so you don't miss the carnage. Let's save you thousands before it's too late. Number 13 is the Cummins ISX. You'd expect a name like Cummins to deliver bulletproof power up to 600 horsepower, a monstrous 2,000 pound-feet of torque. Sounds like a road warrior, right? But between 1998 and 2016, the ISX became a full-time headache for truckers. Freightliner Cascadia, Kenworth T680, and Peterbilts weren't safe. It wasn't one flaw, it was everything. Overheating on inclines, turbochargers blowing without warning, EGR valves choking on soot, injectors misfiring, and camshafts chewed up like bubblegum. One trucker said his ISX overheated just idling in traffic after replacing the thermostat. Let that sink in. The EGR system may have helped the planet, but it wrecked engines. Soot buildup triggered valve failures, coolant leaks, and roadside breakdowns. And those turbos? They didn't just fail, they ghosted drivers. Some were on their second or third in a year. Sure, the ISX looked unbeatable, but a powerful engine means nothing if it spends more time in the shop than on the road. Now let's see how shortcuts can destroy a brand. Number 12 is the Chevrolet 350 diesel. GM tried to cheat diesel, and diesel punched back hard. From 1978 to 1985, they took a gas engine and slapped diesel parts on it. No redesign, no reinforcement, just shortcuts. They reused weak 10-bolt heads from their gasoline line, but diesel runs at 22.51 compression, which is a massive pressure. Guess what happened? Blown gaskets, cracked heads with constant failures. It wasn't just bad, it was a breakdown on wheels. Owners of the Chevy Caprice and Oldsmobile Delta 88 got stuck, stranded, and scammed. And GM made it worse by skipping a basic diesel must-have, a water separator. Back then, diesel fuel was dirty. Without that separator, water chewed through injection pumps and fuel lines like acid. Drivers attempted to fix it with dry gas, but that only melted seals and caused further damage to more parts. What started as a cheap diesel experiment turned into a mechanical disaster. The 350 diesel wasn't just unreliable, it became a warning label for every future engine project. And GM? They paid the price in reputation and recalls. But that's not the end of diesel horror stories. Check out the 12 driving habits that ruin your diesel engine. At number 11, we have Ford's 2.7L EcoBoost V6. Launched in 2015, Ford's 2.7L EcoBoost V6 was billed as the future. Small engine, big power, better mileage. What drivers got instead was a turbocharged heartache hiding under the hood of F-150s, Broncos, Explorers, and more. Carbon buildup was enemy number one. Direct injection skipped the intake valves entirely. Nothing cleaned them. Grime stacked up. Engines coughed, stumbled, and misfired. Then came the plastic oil pan. Not aluminum or steel. Pure plastic that warped, leaked, and left garages looking like crime scenes. Coils and plugs gave up early. The head gaskets couldn't withstand the heat. And somehow, oil vanished between changes. No puddle or smoke, just gone. By 2024, nearly 100,000 engines were recalled. Why? Intake valves could snap off completely. Essentially, the 2.7-liter EcoBoost looked smart on paper, but in the real world, it became Ford's quiet disaster, stylish on the outside, yet a mechanical meltdown on the inside. If you're shopping used and spot one under the hood, think twice. Tiny cylinders, huge regrets. But the next fiasco makes this look tame. At the 10th spot is the Dodge 2.2-liter diesel. Between 1981 and 1995, Chrysler collaborated with Mitsubishi to introduce the 2.2L diesel engine. With a sad 84 horsepower, this engine struggled to move anything heavier than regret. Dodge D50 owners were first to suffer. Constant overheating, mystery oil leaks, and head gaskets blowing because of a flawed design. Chrysler paired an aluminum head with an iron block, two metals that don't mix without special coolant additives. But early models skipped that step. Rust spread, parts warped, and engines quit long before their time. Turbocharged versions were even more brutal. More heat, stress, and failures. It was certainly cheap and simple, but even bargain hunters knew better. After one breakdown, too many issues followed. The 2.2L diesel wasn't just weak, it was cursed. A textbook case of cost-cutting gone wrong. And today, it lives on as a warning. Sometimes, cheap will cost you everything. Wipe the turbo tears. One more V8 still waits to ambush you. Number 9 is Ford's 3.5-liter EcoBoost. It had the punch of a V8 and the size of a V6 when it launched between 2011 and 2014. But in real-world driving, the cracks started to show. One of the strangest issues was the intercooler condensation. In humid weather, water built up inside the intercooler. Instead of evaporating, it pooled, hit the throttle on the highway, and the engine stumbled hard. Some drivers lost power at the worst time. Then came the timing chain problems. This engine ran hot, and if oil changes were delayed, the chain wore fast. Tensioners stretched, pulleys failed. Once the chain slipped, the whole engine lost sync, and the repair bill exploded. The ignition system also took a hit. Coils and spark plugs burned out early. Misfires became a common complaint. If you ignore them long enough, you'd be staring down a full rebuild. The 3.5L EcoBoost was packed with power and potential, but poor durability turned that promise into pain. Fast, fun, and frustrating all at once, this engine gave drivers a wild ride they didn't sign up for. But that's not enough pain. A thirsty V8 is about to chew through wallets. Number 8 is the 5.4-liter Triton V8, 3-valve. It powered the 11th gen F-150 and big SUVs. Expedition and Lincoln Navigator got it too. Ford hyped it up with variable valve timing. Modern, efficient, loaded with tech. Yet the real world revealed its ugly side fast. Many F-150 owners blamed the timing chain as the top culprit. It stretched early. The phasers needed flawless oil flow. Sadly, they sat at the far end of the oil system. During cold starts, that was a nightmare waiting to happen. When the chain or phasers failed, the repair bill was savage. Expect $2,000 to $3,500, enough to break any owner's spirit. And the misery didn't stop there. Exhaust manifold leaks drove people crazy. Repairs were brutal in those cramped spaces. Starters and intake parts? Same story. Mechanics often cursed the layout. Sure, a few Tritons still chug along today, but many ended up in the scrapyard early. Owners gave up after endless rattles, leaks, and wallet-busting repairs. Ford's big hope for a refined V8 crushed by constant failures. Think they learned their lesson? One corporate giant soon tripped on its own big promises. Number 7 is the Ford 6.0-liter Power Stroke. This one turned working-class heroes into driveway statues. Ford's 6.0L disaster was so cursed, they called it 6-point blow. It nuked head gaskets faster than you'd believe. The gaskets themselves weren't even at fault. 4 torque-to-yield head bolts per cylinder just couldn't hold up. One heavy tow? The heads lifted and sent a goodbye. These were meant for real work. Super duty, big loads, long hauls. But under the badge sat a ticking time bomb. The EGR system, built for cleaner air, only made things uglier. Clogged with soot, cracking coolers, and spiking engine temps. Trucks lost power, and owners prayed they'd limp home. Then came the oil cooler, buried in the block, clogging like an artery stuffed with sludge. One blockage sent oil temps soaring, and since that oil fired the injectors and cooled the turbo, everything crashed in a heartbeat. From work sites to scrap yards, this engine left a trail of heartbreak, and one brutal lesson stood clear. Not every blue oval means built tough. Spoiler, a fix for that fail crashed harder than the original. Coming in at number 6 is the Navistar DT466E. It all started with new tech upgrades between 2004-2006. Navistar added the second-gen HEUI injection system. Although it sounds great on paper, in reality, full mechanical mess. High-pressure oil pumps failed early. The injectors misfired left and right. Cold starts became a gamble every morning. Then came the overheating nightmare. Coolant vanished without warning. Sensors failed at the worst times. Drivers watched temperature gauges climb, praying to make it home. The throttle response was just sad. Turbo lag made it worse. This big diesel always felt out of breath. It couldn't deliver smooth, reliable power. You'd usually find it in the International 4300. Drivers with these trucks share horror stories. Simple routes turned into roadside repairs. Toss in random electrical gremlins, and downtime skyrocketed. Mechanics saw these engines more than their families. Navistar hoped to modernize a proven workhorse. Instead, the DT466E's later versions destroyed its reputation. From a champion of fleets to a maintenance nightmare, this diesel fell hard. Think that was wild? Watch how a fuel saver robbed thousands blind. At number 5, we have the Detroit Diesel 8.2-liter. It was nicknamed the Fuel Pincher. Sadly, it pinched more wallets than fuel from 1979 to 1990. You'd spot it under Ford F700s and GMC 7000s. Drivers had to bury the pedal just to keep pace. Some versions only made 130 horsepower. Underpowered is putting it nicely. But the design was a real train wreck. It used an open-deck block that left the cylinders poorly supported. Head gaskets blew out all the time. Only 4 bolts per cylinder made it worse. Piston rings refused to seat on over-hardened walls. That made oil disappear like magic. Fuel transfer pumps cracked. Rocker arms pitted. Bearings flaked apart. And cam followers? When they failed, they took the whole engine down with them. Legend has it that nearly half were replaced under warranty. GM threw in the towel eventually. Mechanics cheered, and owners sighed in relief. The next so-called workhorse had one pin that took down empires. Number 4 is the Cummins 6BT. Take this respected workhorse, trusted around the world. Strong, simple, built to last. But one flaw still haunts owners. The killer dowel pin. A small steel pin, hidden in plain sight, could shake loose. When that happened, it destroyed gear trains, smashed pistons, and even cracked blocks. Between 1989 and 2002, many 5.9-liter 6BTs fell victim. Miss it, and you'd face a brutal teardown. Heat was another enemy. The 6-cylinder sat deep at the back. Airflow was poor. Coolant couldn't reach it well enough. Heavy loads pushed it over the edge. Overheating followed, ending in failure. The parent bore block design only made things harder. Unlike wet sleeve engines, rebuilding meant more money and more hours. No mechanic loved cracking these apart. As they aged, other problems showed up. Valve seats dropped, freeze plugs failed, leaking coolant into the oil. Some owners thought the block had cracked, but it was just another hidden headache. You'd find this motor in Rams, F600s, flatbeds, and box trucks. A trusted name, sure. However, in punishing work environments, its weaknesses became apparent. And yes, even GM couldn't resist the next epic fail coming up. Number 3 is the Duramax LLY 6.6-liter V8. It was meant to be GM's diesel hero, but what owners got felt more like a turbocharged tragedy. New emissions tech sounded promising. The EGR system and variable vane turbo looked advanced. Sadly, a narrow turbo inlet choked airflow. Temps shot through the roof under towing. Head gaskets didn't stand a chance. Coolant vanished and pressure built up. Repair bills? Brutal. Many owners dropped up to $4,000 just to keep rolling. The worst problems showed up in 2006. Faulty glow plug modules roasted the plugs until they broke off inside the engine. That wasn't just bad luck, it was a death sentence for the motor. The EGR system clogged constantly, robbing power. This engine served the Chevy Silverado 2500 HD and GMC Sierra 2500 HD. But too many trucks spent more time with the hood open than on the road. Legend status doesn't protect you. A bow tie badge is about to burn again. Number 2 is Ford's 6.4-liter Power Stroke. Built for 2008-2010. Super Duty trucks, it replaced the messy 6.0L, but it quickly earned a disaster badge of its own. The weak radiator started the trouble. Plastic end tanks cracked. Coolant leaked out. Overheating soon followed. Engine damage was only a heartbeat away. Next came fuel economy nightmares. The diesel particulate filter guzzled extra fuel. It loved to burn it off during regions. In city traffic, that was constant. Worse, raw fuel sometimes slipped into the oil. That thinned the oil dangerously, and the metal parts wore down fast. Still not done. Here comes the big finale, cracked pistons. These didn't happen on a racetrack, but on everyday roads. One knock too many, and the pistons shattered. Repairs meant a complete engine teardown. Owners of 2008 to 2010 F250s and F350s paid the price. Sure, it made big power, but the costs were brutal. Endless breakdowns, giant bills, and frustration you could feel in your bones. Ford hoped to erase the 6.0's shame. Instead, the 6.4L became its own horror story. And finally, to the grand finale, nobody dares suspect. Number 1 is the Toyota Tundra 5.7-liter V8. Toyota is the gold standard of run forever. Solid, reliable, and practically bulletproof. But this 5.7L V8, it blew a hole right through Toyota's shining armor. From 2007 to 2010, the second-generation Tundra stumbled hard. Cam tower oil leaks showed up way too soon, sometimes before 100,000 miles. And those repairs? Brutal. $1,500 to $4,000 of pain, no matter where you parked. Then, the water pump joined the disaster party. It failed early, leaving trucks to overheat, warp their heads, or fry their gaskets. A mechanical meltdown no Tundra fan deserved. And the final stab? That cursed air injection pump. When it failed, the truck slammed into limp mode. No warning, no escape, no power. Just a humiliating crawl to the shop. Parts and labor saw $2,000 gone in a flash. These engines powered proud crewmax and double cab beasts, but many drivers still remember them with heartbreak instead of heroics. This was the moment Toyota's tough reputation took a beating. And yeah, it still leaves a scar to this day. You've seen the truck engines that turn dreams into nightmares. But cars? They can stab you in the back just as hard. In my next video, I'll reveal 20 worst cars that no one buys, according to Consumer Reports.